Can you hear us now?
Is she? Can you know?
Oh,
yeah. All right. Okay, so did you guys, before we hop into McCall's part on our, do you, should we go through the last column really quick?
Yeah,
Okay. This is great.
I wanna check, is it okay if I take pictures of the council while we're working? We gonna do it?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can zoom in and
Look at that.
Maybe. Close.
Here's people hard at work.
Like a.
Yeah.
Make sure you have a filter. Well, I'll tell Karen.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes.
I
have it.
Yeah.
Just like. Wait.
Yeah. Everybody's like, hey, oh, breakfast right. Star. What do you want?
We removed it from the literacy screening list, is what we did with it.
That wasn't what I really wanted to hear. Don't care, don't use it.
So third grade, I couldn't like work it out the exact same way in that amount of time, but overall, you'll see a correlation from the, in that column J. You could really look left and right, because if you're looking at prior to third, to the left, we have where we want them by the end of second grade.
Okay.
And to the right is a correlation to those third grade standards, and it goes even further over, so where it says oral counting, like fluid counting by ones, twos, fives, tens, and beyond to support multiplication division, because those are, that's tied to where we get into 3.0, 8.7, which is those multiplication division strategies. So we can talk about whether or not oral counting, and also is there a measure that even measures oral counting at the end of second grade? Because most of the time we're seeing addition, subtraction, and we're seeing word problems in those screeners that we have, whether it's Acadians, trying to think Renaissance.
Yeah, I was just saying that like for things like that, it's just gonna make, it's not gonna directly assess that standard, it's just gonna make predictions based on how they do in other areas of math.
And your
Which is why I was gonna say for numeracy, even more so, I wanna make sure we have like that ability to qualify based on a composite score. So I think that that's how I know I envision doing it in MCPS for sure.
Yeah, so for most screeners, you're looking at an operational skill, and then you're looking at whether they can apply, so applications of those, which is where they're reading graphs and measurements, and they're now looking at geometry and things like that. I've not seen, other than you're also getting to standards-based screeners. So if you're looking at like your iReadies, those are by standard instead of just like, can you count?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, sorry.
So on the bottom, I also added composite score after Doug said that. We haven't had that yet. Is that something you want to add on?
We had that for
We had it for literacy.
literacy, yeah.
I was actually gonna pull that up. Do you want me to pull that up really fast, just to see? That's what I was searching for here. So this is what our literacy one looks like. Composite is,
First.
prior to first. Yeah.
So we do the same for numeracy.
I would recommend that.
And the same prior to first, second, third.
You could get a kid that's a bubble kid on 2 or 3 areas and automatically on that composite score into a different category.
Agreed.
I really noticed that in literacy, we had, like, in the early grades, obviously, like 3 power standards that we were working towards, or concepts or skills, and progressively we kept adding to that. So it's very similar in that way with what we just did with math, well, now we have 5 or 6.
If you
6
look,
or 7.
I made another tab with our selected skills so far. There we go. So you can see the progression
Oh,
that we have.
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah,
Okay. Now,
Should we call this like numeracy composite though? So it aligns, or map composite, so it aligns with the language that we use on the other one.
what did we do the reading?
Reading,
Yeah. That's fine.
I don't know the terminology,
I
but.
would say math.
And wherever you want it to exist, I mean, you do that. I don't know.
I agree with prior to first, prior to second, prior to third. Okay. So that it matches literacy, and that makes sense because they're all gonna be exposed to different math screeners, kindergarten forward.
So then, knowing what the screeners are in third grade and what we are capable of. I mean, we could list some, but there might not be a tool to exactly measure it. I think going with the addition and subtraction, which is basic computation. For sure. Would be one of the ones we can measure easily.
Yeah.
Purple, I need purple.
I do wanna buy for story problems. For that one, told ya.
$100.
I wanna say in the standards, it's now problems and concepts.
I was gonna say that too, yeah, it's what.
So-
Problems in context.
Yeah,
Or you could say application.
yeah, either of those.
They have to do story problems at first.
No, I'm on third.
This is
Oh,
for,
sorry,
Right.
second. I meant second, sorry.
Uh,
I think
No.
we do.
yeah, 2-step word problems. So you're doing like, the
Okay.
farmer had 18. Sorry, I'm
But that
being-
problems in context where you are,
Yes.
that's a prior to third or,
prior to third.
so end of second, prior to third.
Yes.
Okay.
What
So
do
if they
you,
don't have it prior to third, they would qualify.
what do you have for your screener for math second?
Ames Web Place.
Same to plus. So yes, same two measures. that
I mean, we
look
haven't
at.
used it as a score, you know,
Benchmark
that's what we
tool.
will use. All
Yeah.
right.
And I feel like, cause we have iReady, and I feel like as I look through this, it'll measure everything we highlighted.
So right now we have problems in context or word problems. Just call it word problems. I feel like that's good. Word problems.
I feel like if we've been aligning the standards language for the rest of it,
Okay.
I'd rather keep it that way.
And then addition and subtraction. And then composite score.
Right.
Are there any others that, I think these other ones would be sub skills of problems in context and addition, and subtraction.
Anything with place value, like comparing
Yeah, that would probably
numbers.
The quantity compare something in there in the, let's see.
And then fractions do come into place in third grade more so also in the standards.
That's the end of third though, right?
So number comparisons would be what we did in second grade too, so that would track.
I feel fine with that.
Copy these over to. You wanna go to the selected skills? I'll move them over, we can see if anything's missing or.
Do you wanna add composite score under prior to first, prior to second?
Not
And I think we're in it. Oh, math composite, I see. I think you can take score off.
If I were to just align it, we could see what appears to. Oh, we'll turn that into the table like what we have. But
It's a lot easier to read though, isn't it?
Anything more, Mitchell? I don't think
I mean, I think we really probably could continue numeral identification just all the way through since that evolves.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just more places.
yeah,
Like you mean being able to say 1 versus 112?
totally, like,
Okay.
yeah, like, I mean, it just gives you another opportunity to get them in there. And it's, and obviously what that looks like is gonna be different in the prior to second versus the prior to third, what your standard is, but I think it'd be fine to keep it there. I feel good with that.
The only thing I see missing on this list, even starting all the way back at the prior to pre-K, is there's none of those geometry skills listed on here at all. And I do see that as a foundational building thing in mathematics, especially in early literacy. I mean, early mathematics.
I think one of the reasons why we don't have them reflected is because typically they're not assessed on the screeners because it alone in isolation isn't a predictive skill outside of the other items. It's not saying that it's not important for the content, but to assess it alone isn't a predictive skill in math.
Yeah, I can't think of any screeners that call it out in first grade, second grade, kindergarten.
But it will still be taught.
Yeah, it's still
It's
taught,
still
it's just
standard.
not on the assessment tool.
Oh no, I realize all these teachers are going to teach things holistically if they're good teachers, which I feel like most of them are. It's just one of those things that I guess in the early childhood part, that shorting shapes, colors, like all of that stuff, I guess it's one of those foundation things that I've seen be kind of important, not only for mathematics, but also for literacy and stuff like that. I realize that,
Sorry.
and that's more just in that prior to pre-K setting is where I would like to kind of see it.
So
Because you're not going to have any, like you said, we don't have a lot of things that are going to test on that. And that is one of those, I'm trying to think of the right word for it, comprehensive type learning things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think the difference that we're seeing here is these are the screeners, where when we go over to look at the Title 10 Chapter 63 standards, that's where we can ensure that geometry is there. I don't think we have a tool to screen for it for the evaluation methodology side, but it will be a part of the content standard side.
Yeah, so even in the like 4-year-old screeners and assessment tools, typically geometry is not on there because it's not a predictive tool. It's not a skill that's on its own predictive of later mathematics. The other items like oral counting, number naming, quantity comparison are the most predictive indicators of later math skills, and so that's why they're reflected on the existing screening tool. So there really isn't, when you look at early numeracy screening tools, geometry on its own isn't there.
Yeah.
So for devil's advocate,
Hopefully something in the future might change, just not now.
So like if we were to put geometry on there, we can put it there, but there's not going to be a way to qualify in that area because there's not a tool that measures that.
Yeah, because then that would have to be an individual, that would be the clicking the other type situation then.
But I would caution against that because the creators of math experts nationwide and the creators of norm referenced assessment tools and screening tools aren't noting that as a predictive indicator. And so to suggest that a self-created tool would be more reliable than what's out there, that to me feels not, that it suggests that
Not as evidence-based, yeah.
assessment. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks everyone. That's super helpful. So we'll thank you, Marie, for doing this, and then we'll put this into a matrix. This will go into the next step. So this is great, and then we'll start pulling together at least the framework for the other screeners. And again, thanks again for everyone's input on that, and then we'll put it together. We'll have time or opportunity to review that before it's finalized.
Is there other names that we need to add to the list that aren't on the list already? Like, I know we've added a couple, but is there more that are?
Like assessments.
Yeah,
I think we probably need to dig a little bit. I think
Okay.
we'll go look
Yeah.
at what's in Rhode Island, go look what's in Kentucky. I think based on the other lists that we have, and I'll send all these out to you guys. If you, after looking at everything, if you know of other ones, let us know. And we'll try to like add what we have. Obviously, we'll send you what we come up with, and if there's things missing, or if you think that there are any feedback you have, we can certainly sort of circle back around and see what we can find on that.
did you say Ohio has been a resource as well?
Oh, I don't know.
I have some stuff on Ohio. It's really-
Okay, that'd be
So
great.
That would be good. Another good, yeah, once we're done.
This is great, thank you.
What's the timeline then? So what's the meeting at the end of the month for?
So what I'm gonna do right now is, I'm gonna take this information, I'll plug it into the rule that I had that was all redlined. I'm gonna go through sort of another set of rules that we need to just sort of review. Given the passage of House Bill 338, there's some language changes and things I need you all to consider. So we're gonna go through some of that. The meeting on the 27th, I believe. I think we can probably have a discussion about how much time we're gonna need for that. I think you guys actually did a ton of really good work today and probably don't need a ton of time, assuming that you all can do some pre-work to review documents that we can get to you. And documents, I mean the rules, this document that we'll put together that does sort of the crosswalk with this ladder that we're gonna put together. Same with this document that we'll do with the crosswalk with the screeners and the skills. If you guys can do some of that like pre-work to make sure that you review that and get back to us with some feedback, I think the meeting on the 27th can probably be condensed. And maybe we just plan to do a couple hours on Zoom. I think that probably would be a better use of time. Because I don't think that we're gonna need a full-blown meeting in person, yeah. Especially given all the work you guys did today.
And what, then it would have to go in front of the board at whatever, like November meeting?
So we could get these packaged to the board. Sorry, I gotta stop sharing my screen so I can put my calendar. I could package these up for the board to review at their meeting, the 11th and 12th of September.
Where is that meeting?
Dylan. So they could review them in September. We could go out for rulemaking in September or November. Let's say we do November. And then let's say we get a bunch of comments. So we have to respond to comments in January. And then say we approve in March.
Is that too tight or is that? I just
Oh, no,
don't know.
that's long.
Is that good?
That would be a long process.
Because we don't really need it.
That's long. That's our 4-meeting long process.
Okay.
Yeah, we've
Which is
done much
plenty of time.
shorter as you've seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have plenty for next year.
Yeah, I guess that's, and this is my question to all of you who are in schools and will be working with schools, and is that enough time? Well, March, enough time to.
I would say March works, but if we're gonna purchase and review, I mean,
Exactly.
we're gonna know what the recommendations are. And we're hopeful the Board of Public Education. honors
You'll know in
those
January.
So that would, if we knew in January what those tools were, we could then be working with vendors to have them secured by April for assessments.
Well, and that's gone, the April, May. June.
Yeah, right, I was just thinking,
that's when you-
right, but I was thinking I would still use April in my brain, so.
Just
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, because that's typically a good time.
And if we don't get any comments, on the rules, we can actually adopt in January.
Did we get comments for the literacy?
Yeah, we flipped the, I think it went literacy, creative arts, math, and we flipped creative arts and math, so it goes literacy, math.
Oh, good.
I wrote. Yeah.
I think so.
We just flipped those, but I mean, it wasn't a big deal. So yes, we could in theory just adopt them in January if it were like a very basic. So are you all okay if then, assuming that we. Well, let's go through the rules right now and sort of see where everybody's at. Does that sound good? Okay. I'll share my screen part. Oh. Those are fine. But.
Notice, this very first one you just gave me, Learning Without Tears, has shapes, which is geometry.
Is that yeah, but the learning, but it's not really a screener, it's like a worksheet. I wouldn't say that it's a curriculum that has, it's not a.
Is it like a place?
So you would say you don't think that would end up on the list, okay? I'm just all about kids knowing their shapes, but I'm not a mathematician, so I don't wanna weigh in on that.
Or, okay, sorry.
More of those vocabulary skills.
Oh,
yeah.
So that would be without some, right, just going 1, 2, that, right?
All right, so in our rules for early literacy target interventions, given the passage of House Bill 338, it removed the literacy part, and now we're gonna be referring to these as early targeted intervention standards. So we'll generalize the language in our rules. And so you'll see that we will do so in throughout these rules as well. This is 1054-901, specific to early literacy standards. You'll see obviously throughout this, we'll take out literacy. I won't stop at every single one of these. We took out may be administered in April, May, or June. That was due to the language in 338. This is all of the language we did last time. I don't think we're suggesting changing any of it. If I'm wrong in that, please let me know. And then down here, adding or math. For the Jumpstart program, again, taking out literacy and adding an S to interventions. I just think that makes sense. And then adding mathematics here, again, adding math. And I'll send these to you guys. I do want your feedback. This is part of the things I would like you to do in the meantime. Again, I don't think there's anything we need or want to add here, but looking to you for feedback. And then I'm not going to go over this one because we just went over it and I don't have anything else to share here. Because I'll send you what we just did. All right, let me go over the early childhood education standards. There were a few more changes there. in the world? All right. You all made a lot of really big, good changes to these standards last time. And we actually get compliments on these a lot. I think the language that was chosen and the way you went about threading the needle between preschool programs and the literacy program was honestly really well done. And so here, again, a lot of this you'll see, we had a lot of repetitive language, but I think it was done for a really good reason. When we just removed literacy here in much of this. So you'll see that here in this first section. Scroll down through definitions, the same thing. Adding numeracy and math. Again, removing literacy. Same thing in 104. You'll also notice in some of these sections, I've updated the authorization and implementation statutes below. Some of these were different for some reason, and so we're just trying to update them. I don't understand how that happened, but so you'll see some of that there. We repealed 108. There's no longer a 108 in there. 109, because early numeracy will now live in 1054-903. You needed to add that section in there to make sure that that we're referencing the early literacy methodologies in 901 and the early numeracy methodologies in 903.
What's 902?
Jumpstart. I know I can't.
Right, I just,
Yeah. You can't change the number one.
right,
Has a,
understood.
yeah.
Just wondered what that was.
What was 108 that was?
Hmm?
What was 108 that was extracted from?
Aggregate hours.
Oh,
And then 110, this is the section that we updated. So you'll see here, I'm removing literacy. Sorry, I'm gonna scroll down to 2, which is where much of the big work was done. Adding mathematics and numeracy. And then this is where you'll see it's not reflected here, but it will be reflected in once the rule is adopted on Saturday, actually, is the effective date of the new rule. If you are interested and want to go see it. A will be English language arts. B here will actually be mathematics, and C will be creative arts. So we just flipped these two. It looks like nothing in curriculum and assessment. Nothing in instruction.
This part was so much harder last time.
You know, nothing in 113, nothing in 114. 115, I just clarified this language. That was that. Anyone have any questions on the rules? Again, I did a quick, like, I shouldn't say quick. I went through these and reviewed mainly for implementing the changes that needed to be done with the passage of 338. And trying to bring in the language on the new early numeracy rule. I did not make any other changes beyond that. So I will send these out to you guys, after this meeting as well. And, see what other feedback or suggestions you have.
Where do we anticipate the, drafted statement that you created initially when we were in the methodology changes? Where do we anticipate that to live? Have that more narrative explanation of?
Well, you won't need that now.
Yeah, we don't see it.
As we broke it
You
down.
put the skills in there. Yeah,
That was if we weren't gonna use skills, right?
Yeah.
Don't forget that we had started with that, to have to circle back to where it's. shoot, okay.
Remade the grid that looks like the literacy. You guys wanna look
It's
at
on
it?
the
Tab in that same sheet. It just says skills progression.
Yeah, I started. to think
Oh,
about that.
sorry.
No, that's good, thank you.
Bothers me that math composite's not on the bottom, but.
you can put it on the
Yeah,
bottom.
absolutely.
We did that with the reading one.
Oh, composite, and
You should put it on the
I
bottom.
get that. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Right, what
Were you
other
making that the whole time?
question? No, where you did that.
I was like,
No way.
and you're gonna send us Marie's document,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, and, do note that on the bottom tab, there's, well, on the bottom, there are numerous tabs.
And on third grade, I wanna clean that up to match what I did pre-K two, cause that's, I have more time for the other ones, so.
Yeah, can we just all agree that this is gonna be a draft?
Yeah.
Yeah. And until we put it out as a formal document, that it is a draft.
Great, or if you want to send it to me, I'll put it in box too.
Okay, what other questions, thoughts, comments? Does everyone feel?
I think you did a ton of work behind the scenes. You
Yeah.
keep commenting on the progress we made today, but the agendas that you were sending with the detail, we're way ahead of where we were.
well, this was nowhere near as controversial. We didn't have anywhere near the debate over whether or not a kid needs to be able to count, you know, versus our literacy discussions, which were just so much heavier.
Well, we should know that that has a lot to do with both Representative Romano and Representative Cox's work in advancing the cause
Yeah,
and the acceptance of the whole concept.
yeah,
Yeah.
We really were on pins and needles last time, and it was almost like, go do that, but you better not.
For sure.
And this time, the tenor has really changed as a result of leadership of both of the sponsors.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
It really solidifies the program too, which is great.
Yeah. Thank
And it
you.
includes more kids, which is
We're
what we're
spending
hoping
enough
to do.
time trying to convince people that is right, it's just.
And we get that 25% weighting factor all the way through the 12th grade, we'll be cooking with gas. I'm not kidding. Serious. At risk, this is an at-risk funding mechanism is what it is. Highly effective. The research shows that at least in a couple of instances, they were able to completely change and eliminate the achievement gap over the course of that full 12, 13 years of a student's career. So, see if we can't get the FFIC to take that up, incorporate it, so,
Yeah, good luck with that.
yeah. Saw it yesterday, Tori. We're fighting fire with fire.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere. All right, anyone else? Anyone else have any thoughts, questions? Suggestions on how we move forward? All right. Well, I think we can end early today then. I think, okay. No, I know. I know.
Don't worry.
Rob, we're gonna go right over you. No, just kidding. But for next meeting purposes, I think what we'll do, I know I've said this, but I'm gonna reiterate. I'm gonna send you a lot of things between, after this meeting. My expectation is that you will all review all of these documents. And that you will get back to us if you have any questions, feedback, thoughts. So that we can do a meeting, a Zoom meeting. 10 to noon, should we say? 2 hours enough, do you guys think? To go over all the rules. That includes what we did today and the ones we just went over. Okay,
And then we'll have the screeners listed as well at that point.
we should have the 2 documents, this one that Marie just did, so that one's pretty much done. This one is gonna be a little bit more time consuming. So we are going to need some time to go over this one.
I may be reaching out to, certain people like Allison.
Yeah.
just To clarify my work. With screeners.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be working on that in the interim. And then, yeah, okay, perfect. We'll ask for some feedback on that stuff in the interim, and then we will go from there. Maybe like a package. Yeah, we'll put like a little package together that we can give to the board in September, and if any of you are interested and or willing to maybe present that to them in September. I mean, I talk so much to them that it would be great to have someone else.
Brandon will be there.
I'm like, I'll be there anyways, but if someone else.
September 11th and 12th in Dillon. Any questions on any of that? All right, at this time, we'll do public comment. Rob, you have been very patient with us. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, everybody. For the record, my name is Rob Watson, W-A-T-S-O-N, and I serve as the Executive Director for School Administrators Montana. Appreciate a couple of things. I promise I won't take much time because Superintendent Barron over there is giving me the eye to get back on the road, so.
I'm saying you're good.
Okay. Just a couple of things. So in my work last fall in touring the state, talking to districts, one of the questions I asked is if they had implemented a 4-year-old program, and if not, why not? What I noticed in tracking that data, definitely if you're in Western Montana, you stand a higher percentage opportunity to actually be in a district where there's a program. The further east you go, the less likely there's going to be a program in your district or in your area. So why not? Several times it was because of staffing, and hopefully with the STARS Act, that'll get a little bit easier, but no guarantees. In some instances, it was trying to overcome some misconceptions in their community. And that you guys alluded to that about, what is this program? Why would we start this program? Is it needed? Where's the money coming from? All these questions. And so some of it was overcoming those misconceptions. A couple of difficult school board conversations in some communities around starting this. So appreciate the courage that those boards took to start a program, even when maybe not everybody in their community wanted to do it. You spoke today about flexibility, and I appreciate the flexibility because I do think if there's any barriers around rules or staffing or assessments, that it could be harder for districts to start the program. So I do appreciate the flexibility. The caveat though, with flexibility comes statewide data. And that's my biggest concern, is how we show the efficacy of this program. Representative Nikolakakis will appreciate this, but I had several conversations at the Capitol about how do we show return on investment. That's a tough conversation because there's a delayed effective, like, okay, well, it's going to improve graduation rates. Geez, that's like what, 12 years from now, or it's going to improve
matriculation into higher ed. Well, that's 18 years from now, so there's a very delayed effective date. Even with our current situation, because they don't actually take the state assessment till 3rd grade. So again, there's a delayed effective date. Some of the stories I heard, Doug talked about some successes in Missoula. That's common with whoever I speak to about it after they've implemented what they've seen as far as successes in closing that achievement gap. Somehow we have to capture that data. And I'm not saying that, we should change everything and have a statewide assessment for first graders. That's not what I'm recommending, but somehow we have to capture the valuable data that districts are seeing in closing those achievement gaps between pre-K, first, second, and third, because it is happening. Last thing, and by the way, those stories, even though they might be isolated in communities, can go a long way in helping other communities see why this is a valuable program. My biggest concern is making sure this opportunity is available in every community, because not every kid has the opportunity to live in a district where this is happening. With the support of Allison's program at the University of Montana, I enrolled in that pre-3 certification program this year. I know several of you have done that. And one thing I've learned already is the value of having that alignment pre-K through 3rd grade. That's something I think we're missing in our state. I think a lot of schools, this is sort of an add-on program, and we need to get better at that alignment. I think this committee can help with that. The other thing I learned, though, is the districts that have really changed the metrics or really moved the dial on 3rd grade reading are districts where there's a unified effort, not only in the district, but across the whole state. And we have an opportunity to do that. We have a legislative body that's supportive. We have teachers that are supportive and families. We now have school boards that are engaged in the discussion as well and supportive of this effort. Another component to be unified is the teacher prep programs, and I think we're getting there. I think that our teacher prep programs are now seeing the benefits of this. Local communities are starting to see the benefit of it. OPI has given their support, and the Board of Public Ed recently adopted a, I don't want to misname it. Resolution around reading. So I believe the Board of Public Ed is on board. So you're seeing some unified efforts across the state. You looked at a state like Mississippi, who was way behind the 8 ball years ago. They've made huge gains in their state because there was a unified effort among all those parties that I just talked about. So I think we can get there, but we have to have it available in every community. And one way we can get there is to show how valuable it is in the communities where it is happening. So hoping we can have that data discussion at some point, if not at this level, at the Board of Public Ed level. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Is there anyone online that wants to give public comment? Please raise your hands now. All right, seeing no hands up. Want to turn it over to any of our council members, see if anyone has any sort of final thoughts before we adjourn today. All right, thanks everyone. Appreciate it.